Domestic violence is an unending issue in our nation. Over the years, children, women, men, elders, it exempts no one. Everyone can be a victim. You can be a victim. Your family members can be the victims. Your friends can be the victims. This issue should be addressed, so that is why I am here as your host, Kate Yvonne Pierre Camo, an industrial engineering student, to be joined with my fellow classmates, Abigail Apello and Chris Romero in our segment, which we will give experiences and insights with this topic. This is Real Talks, the talk about violence, where we only keep it real. Welcome Abigail and Chris. Can you please first introduce yourself to our viewers?
Good day, I'm Christine Romero. I'm 18 years old and I'm studying at Quezon City University, taking industrial engineering and from section SBIE 1E.
Good day, Miss Kitli. I'm Abigail Apello, student of Quezon City University in Industrial Engineering, section SBIE 1E.
Let us begin. So for the first question for our guests, what is domestic violence for you?
For me, domestic violence is a violence that happens inside home with family members or relatives. From the word itself, domestic and violence.
For me, domestic violence is a violence committed by someone to his/her partner. Domestic violence can be physical abuse by punching or kicking the victim, or it can be sexual like rape and psychological abuse.
Well, yes, all of your answers are correct. For the domestic violence, we have a law for it, and we can find the definition in the Republic Act 9262, Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004, where it says that violence against women and their children refers to any act or as a series of acts committed by any person against a woman who is his wife, former wife, or against a woman with whom the person has or had a sexual or dating relationship, or with whom he has a common child, or against her child whether legitimate or illegitimate, within or without the family abode, which result in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, psychological, harm or suffering or economic abuse, including threats of such acts, battery, assault, coercion, harassment, or arbitrary deprivation of liberty. So I already sent a copy of this report to the two guests and they already read it. So the report says that a total of over 3,600 cases of violence against women and children have reported to authorities since the government imposed an enhanced community quarantine on the entire Luzon mid-March. As of June 4, 2020, the Philippine National Police or PNP has recorded 1,945 cases of violence against women and 1,745 cases of violence against children. So for the second question, what can you say about the report and the increase of the rate of domestic violence during this pandemic?
I feel sad and angry at the same time because there is so many women who still experiencing that kind of treatment in front of their child during pandemic. Even there's no pandemic, there are so many women who still experience it. Men can also experience domestic violence by their wives, and it's horrible feeling knowing that person who experienced domestic violence stay silent.
In addition to Miss Abigail said earlier, my opinion regarding this situation that happens between partner or relative is that yes, I felt sad because some people taught that home is the safest place, but for some reason, domestic violence increases because mostly the people cannot go anywhere and staying inside the home most of the time.
For our third question, are you a victim of domestic violence or do you know someone?
No, I'm not, and none of my friends or acquaintances are involved or experiencing this type of violence.
No, I'm not a victim of domestic violence, but I know someone who experienced it, my mother friend. She experienced that kind of treatment. When her partner angry or have an influence of alcohol, she usually got hit by her husband.
So for the fourth question, for you, do you think that the government failed to resolve this issue? Do they have any lacking? What are those?
For me, there is a gap between the family and government policies in this matter. Mostly the reason why this violence occur because of financial problem. This time when the quarantine was so strict, the police or tanod was focusing only who violated the curfew, but they did not see what might happen inside the houses. I think the government or LGU did not prepare for this kaganapan.
For me, yes, because the case about domestic violence are still raising. If there is no lack of action, then domestic violence will no longer exist. First thing to do to stop domestic violence is check the behavior every family member, evaluate them to have a healthy relationship between married couples. And if the domestic violence are already happened, abuser should have punishment or have a divorce for those people married to their abusive partners.
Down to our last question, what is your message for the victims of domestic violence?
My message to those who experience this kind of violence: if you are repeatedly abused physically, you must go through the nearest police station or call for help in order to stop this kind of violence. And for those who do violence with their families or partners, please stop. Violence cannot resolve any problem.
My advice to them, act and speak up for your family and children if you experiencing violence towards your partner. Fight and don't be afraid to your abusers. There are so many people who can help and support you. Thank you.
Now they're done in answering the last question. Thank you so much for your participation, Abigail Apelo and Chris Romero. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences and ideas about this topic. Indeed, every year, millions of people all over the world are victims of domestic violence. If you or someone you know is in a situation that is unsafe, have the courage to speak up because there are people who want to help you. For more information or assistance, please get in touch with these following VAWC hotline numbers. Again, I am your host, Katie Von Piarcamo, and this is Real Talks, the talk about violence, where we only keep it real.